Called it Estelle, just like his wife. It was alive, I'm telling you.
Everybody Needs a Little Love. Episode 17 of Season 3 of Tales from the Darkside. We get a film noir episode, and they pull it off really well. And while the episode plays out, it's interspersed with sections where Roberts, the main character, is talking directly into the camera, addressing the audience. Similar to what William Sadler does in the first episode of Tales from the Crypt, The Man Who Was Death. A man, Curtis, is very lonely and decides to pick up a mannequin from a department store to give him some company. He invites his friend Roberts over, and Roberts notices that Curtis is really taking a liking to this mannequin. In fact, he calls her Estelle, the same name of his ex-wife, and Curtis is treating this mannequin like it's really his girlfriend. He tells Roberts to be nice to her, to be respectful, not insult her, and to even help her when she wants to watch TV or get something to eat. Throughout this episode, we see the mannequin move more, and it becomes more lifelike. So it starts off very stiff, you could say. Also, this isn't the best looking mannequin. We'll see what it looks like at the end. But I have to say, if you're going to pick up a mannequin and fall in love with her, give me one that looks like Taylor Swift or something. I guess our Curtis has lower standards. I think what they're trying to say in this episode is that the mannequin reminds him of his ex-wife that he misses. So he calls her Estelle, and the images here are really good. They'll do parts where they shoot it from the mannequin's point of view, and the mannequin will just make subtle adjustments to their arms and face. So Roberts will look over to Estelle, and her arms will be up in the air. He'll turn his head, talk to Curtis, turn back, and her arms are down in her lap. There's a really kind of fairly edgy scene where Roberts is trying to convince Curtis that this mannequin is not real. So how does he do this? Well, he goes over to her and starts actually fondling her. Like he's grabbing her mannequin breasts and putting her hand in between her pants. Little does he know, this mannequin actually is alive. And it slowly becomes more and more alive. And I really like the way that this story unfolds. It's based on a short story by Robert Bloch and directed by John Harrison. John Harrison is one of the most prolific directors of Tales from the Darkside. He's done Levitation, episode 19 of season 1, I'll Give You a Million, episode 2 of season 1, and he actually directed the previous episode, Red Leader, though he did it under a pseudonym for some reason. But his direction here is a real step up from Red Leader. It's dark, but you can still see what's going on, and they do some actual interesting shots of him talking to the camera, of them talking in the background, and the mannequin kind of slowly moving. It's very effective and does have some actual scary moments. And Curtis predictably becomes pussy whipped. He begins doing everything that this mannequin is telling him to do. At this point, we haven't really seen Estelle talk, but she's making slow movements here and there. And Curtis is beginning to be driven crazy by this. He's become a complete recluse. He can't leave the house and has to serve her every need. And it seems like the mannequin is gaining energy over the past months and becoming more active. She finally decides that she doesn't need Curtis anymore and actually ends up killing him in a pretty bloody scene and hitting his friend Roberts over the head with a bottle and escaping. Not everything is perfectly explained, but the way that it's laid out, you can kind of guess what's going on. This mannequin is gaining power and eventually just becomes an actual real person that we see at the end during this interrogation section with Roberts, where he's trying to convince the police, I swear, it wasn't me that killed him. It wasn't me that killed Curtis. It was the mannequin. People learn during interrogations, you can't blame it on the mannequin. Come up with some other alibi. And we see Estelle coolly smoking a cigarette and seeming to choose her next victim, one of the detectives. So overall, Everyone Needs a Little Love is a really good episode. I'm going to give it a high 7. Jerry Orbach played the main character Roberts. A few credits, he was doing Law & Order episodes, but really what he's known for is he got that sweet Disney money. Doing the voice of Lou Marie in Beauty and the Beast, and you know what that means. If you do one voice, that means they're going to bring you back for the sequel, Beauty and the Beast and the Enchanted Christmas, straight-to-DVD movie, Belle's Magical World, and all the other spin-offs and video games that this little character's voice is featured in. Disney really treats their people well. You do one voice, they're going to continue using you. So he's this character, the Candlestick. Curtis, the guy who falls in love with the mannequin, is played by Richard Portnow, who was Attorney Melvoin in The Sopranos. and in one episode of Seinfeld, like everyone else. Let's read some reviews. This person gave it a 7 out of 10. Surprisingly haunting, I agree. If you read the write-up to this one, you might think it's a skipper, but it's actually one of the more haunting episodes of the series. Of course, anything to do with mannequins is always a little freaky, especially ugly ones. Definitely a darker highlight from a show that usually goes down the silly route. Yes, and a lot of this is due to the way that it was shot. If this was directed just on a soundstage with no lighting and just looked like a soap opera, it would be 52% less effective. That's the exact number. This person gave it a 10 out of 10. Film noir, indeed. This is something quite rare on this series. It's a film noir type episode about two guys that looks like they're right out of the 1950s. Yeah, I do believe this one's set somewhere the 50s, 40s. And their jealousy. One of them, when drunk, steals a mannequin from a store. The mannequin looks like a beautiful woman. I don't know about that. And soon this man falls in love with his dummy. Jealousy ensues over this plastic woman, but the real question is she real or fake? It's a really good episode with a good 50s score and clever dialogue. And they do the film noir type talking. We're like, she's beautiful, plastic on the outside, wonderful on the inside. Her eyes shimmered like a diamond off a golden coast being dropped by a pelican. This episode also has a twist ending. Not exactly. But I think it is good that they make it clear in this episode that she actually is real. You could maybe interpret it that they're all dreaming this or something like that. But I mean, they make it clear that he's being interrogated by these other detectives. There's several other characters in this episode that talk about how Curtis was actually killed. So it's a little open-ended, like how did she become real? But she's real, and she's still out there. Oh, and she gets away with the crime too, and finds her next victim. Spooky. Next up is episode 18 of season 3, Auld Acquaintances, about two witches that fight for a talisman. And it takes place in ye olden days. I'm not really a fan of period pieces all the time, but we'll see if this one pulls it off. Will we get some great accents? You know it. Check out our playlist for all episodes of Monsters, Fear Itself, Black Mirror, Tales from the Darkside, of course, Cowboy Bebop, Mystery Science Theater 3000, and Pet Shop on Forest. Thanks a lot.